Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode 131, and I'm your host, Brian Professor Pedersen. With me, as always, my illustrious co-host, Titanium Technology Wizard, Estrella.
I don't know about Technology Wizard, but we got a lot of new equipment in the studio. We're just trying to figure it out. This is the maiden voyage, so you know what happened on the maiden voyage of the USS Minnow, right? It crashed, ended up on an island for years and years.
Right back in the hero tale.
So we'll see what happens. This is a new kind of technology setup, and we're going to try to enhance the show for our listening audience.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this for a long time now to not only simplify our lives. So I don't want to get too nerdy with most people, but we recorded the audio version of the podcast one way, and we recorded the video version another way. And so when we published the podcast, it wasn't the same audio that we've recorded for YouTube. And it was just kind of difficult for you, but also it wasn't really streamlined. And I think we're fixing that. So that's great. I mean, I think this will be fantastic. And hopefully it makes your life a lot easier in the editing studio as well. So
we'll check it out. We'll see. I'm excited to try this new version out. So we'll
and I did, before we get started, I did want to tell the listeners, no, we didn't quit. No, we didn't go away. We took a quarter episode a couple weeks ago. We took a time off for Thanksgiving holiday, and then frankly, this time of year it's slow, and we were like, hey, let's wait till we got some stuff, compelling enough stuff to talk about before we do our next episode. So we apologize, but we're back. We're
also blessed that we don't have to do this for a living and count on this as a living.
Thank God.
We're content creators, but we're not to the point where we have to put out stuff every week or we're going to lose fan base. Because really the three people that listen to us will always be there. Thanks for listening, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Yeah, right. Thanks, Mom.
Let's get going. We got a good show today.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of the people that support us, and I want to talk about our patrons. Patreon.com/SuperTalk is how you join the patronship. These are the listeners that help support the show directly. Thank you for joining and supporting us. Really means a lot to us. And then if any of you want to join out there, Patreon.com/SuperTalk is how you do that. All right, let's get into, we did have a leftover review since we recorded our last episode. Invincible had episode 4, kind of the mid-season finale, came out. The way that they're releasing the series this year is in 2 parts. It's an 8-episode run that's being released as a 4-part first half of the season. The second half will be out after the holidays. And boy, episode 4 was, I would say, a great mid-season finale.
Great. I mean,
this is what we've been waiting for.
This is what we've been waiting for. Yeah. Again, I was, a little down on Invincible from the beginning with a lot of the dialogue and how slow it was. It has picked up to a hypersonic speed, and it's really good. That end of the season, mid-season finale was really good.
Yeah. And I think we explained, like last episode, they are loosely following along in the comic books run storyline.
Yeah.
And as successful as this show has been, season 1 specifically, and now moving into season 2, they want 4 or 5 seasons of this show. And to do that, they have to inject some filler. Yeah. Right. And frankly, they gotta put things in each one of these episodes that aren't in the comic books themselves. And so that's like a lot of this storyline with his mother and the support group that we saw, that wasn't in the comic books. It just, they had to put that in.
Boring dialogue.
Right? Yeah. And the whole, but I think they've been creative in how they're doing this. We had the whole first half of last episode was on Alan the Alien, which was a completely made up, sideshow, and that was really cool. I really enjoyed
cool,
that. Yeah. But this episode really focused on, we saw at the end of episode 3, Mark was tricked to go to this planet by a Thraxan alien, and he shows up at the planet and his father's there, and that's how the episode ended. It was like, he said, hello, Mark. Whoa. Oh, wait. Disaster on set, but we'll move on. So the Thraxans had tricked him to go to this planet, finds out his father's there, and then we kind of we in the beginning of this episode we got the backstory of this. So we saw at the end of season 1 when Mark and Omni-Man fought, it disturbed Omni-Man so much that he flew off, and we didn't know what happened to him or where he went. Well, we saw that in this episode. He was kind of just flying around different planets aimlessly, didn't really know what to do. We saw he grew this massive beard, and he ended up flying to a black hole, and it looked like he was contemplating committing suicide because he didn't, he had no more purpose, right? His purpose was gone. And there was an alien ship that was being pulled in towards the black hole, and he kind of like reluctantly helped the ship out and saved it, found out it was full of these Thraxans, and then they invited him back to their planet, and they made him their ruler. So it's an alien race of insects, or they're insectoids, I guess, insect humanoids, that have a very short lifespan. So any of their previous kings, queens, emperors, empresses died off very quickly, and Omni-Man lives thousands of years, and well, if we put him in power, he'll be here for a long time and help protect us and all these other things. And so Mark and his father start having this conversation and found out that not only did his father become the ruler of this planet, but he's married, and he had a child with one of the insect aliens.
I love when these shows have these huge plot holes, and they go back and kind of give you a backstory of what happened.
It's fantastic.
It's really good. And I mean, and Amazon is very good at that. They understand that. So that really enhanced the episode for me.
Yeah, and so he meets his half brother, I guess you can call him half brother, and he's like a purple, more human looking than Thraxan looking.
Yeah. Thraxans are like bug like, they're like grasshopper like.
Yeah, but funny enough, I think we'll find out in the second half of this season. Again, the Thraxans' lifespan is very short, so they age very quickly. And I don't want to spoil anything from the comic books, but I do believe we'll see that baby grow very quickly in the second half of this season.
Interesting.
And
that'd be cool.
But
what's his name? Norman?
I can't remember the name of the it probably is Norman. You would know better than me. But then we find out that the Viltrumites that we saw in the Alan and the Alien episode that attacked Alan had been trying to find Omni-Man, and were trying to locate him. Well, they tracked him down to this planet, and they show up on Thraxan, and they start wrecking house, basically. And Omni-Man says, Mark, I need your help defending this planet and saving these people. Get your brother to safety, which he does. He moves off, and Mark and one of the Viltrumites are fighting. Omni-Man ends up coming out to save him. And then there's this massive battle.
Great fight scene.
The Viltrumites and Mark and Nolan. And
we've kind of been waiting for the Viltrumites to come on scene and to introduce new characters and to learn. I mean, we
just see how brutal they
are.
Oh yeah. They're at one point in time, after Mark and his dad are in the cave, and Omni-Man saves him from one of the Viltrumites, and from what we see, he basically punches him through his stomach and kills him. They go back to the main city and see that the other two Viltrumites have basically killed everybody.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they die so easily. I bet we barely even touched them, and they just were destroyed.
Yeah.
How are you like socializing with this inferior race? And Omni-Man's really pissed, obviously, and he's gonna show how pissed he is. But he also is struggling internally with the emotional side of what's happening, because at one point in time, he's like, why do I care so much? Why do I care about these people so much? Why am I so invested? And he's struggling with his Viltrumite upbringing versus how he's feeling right now. And it disturbs him. At one point in time, he grabs Mark by the throat, says, why am I so connected to this?
Which is interesting, because I think that's a subplot in this whole storyline.
It's the retribution of Omni-Man, right?
Not just the retribution of Omni-Man,
or the
but also
rehabilitation.
The weakness of the Viltrumites. There is something that they can get to them, and obviously Omni-Man might be able to show them the way.
One of their only weaknesses may be an emotional weakness, right?
Correct.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But also I think that this is the beginning of the kind of rehabilitation of Omni-Man, of him becoming the hero that we all thought he was when the first season started, right? And but anyway, the battle scenes were amazing.
Yeah.
Mark was fighting off one of the female Viltrumites, and his
Getting
dad
his ass kicked.
Oh yeah, getting his ass, holding his own, but getting his ass kicked at the same time. And his dad basically tells him, "Mark, you have to stop
holding back.
Yeah. You're going to die. You need to be as brutal and vicious as they are, right?" Yeah. And his dad comes over and saves him. And then at one point in time, the guy who he punched through the stomach, who he thought he killed, comes flying in and kicks Omni-Man straight in the back, breaks his spine, and takes him out of the fight. Yeah. And Mark's, bloody and bruised and battered and everything else. And the Viltrumites basically have now won. We see the Viltrumite ship come in, and the Viltrumite leader, they're hauling off Nolan, Omni-Man. They're hauling him off into the ship, and they're saying, "We're taking him back. He's going to be executed back on Viltrum." And he tasks Mark. He says, "Mark, you must," he says, "you are being ordered to take over your father's responsibility of preparing the Earth for takeover."
Right.
And so you need to go back to Earth and prepare your planet to be taken over by a Viltrum.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh crap."
Yeah.
And that, it was just like, again, great way to end the kind of cliffhanger for the first half season episode.
Really good show. Really good show. If you're not watching it, you got to check it out.
One of the other side plots that happened during the episode is that Donald, who's the assistant for what's the guy's name? Cecil's assistant. We saw last season that Omni-Man killed him. He basically grabbed him in the back of his back and pulled his spine out, and
blew the whole building up in himself.
Right. And he committed suicide trying to save everybody and blew the building up. Well, he found that footage, and we were kind of all wondering, like, how's he back?
Right.
Like, he definitely died last season.
Yeah.
But he's been back all season. Well, he found the footage of that in the computer archives and was starting to wonder the same thing about himself. And he goes into the bathroom and he takes a knife and stabs himself in the arm, and he finds out that the knife barely goes in. He bleeds, but it doesn't go all the way into his arm. And
broke the knife. It kind of bent the
knife. And so we find out that he's a kind of a rebuilt version, cyborg, like an android or cyborg.
It'd be interesting to see. Yeah.
So that's great too. Yeah. That's kind of a nice little side plot. Yeah. But look, we're looking forward to the second half of the season. Again, it'll come out I believe in January after the holidays, probably around mid-January.
Yeah, they never touched on the multiverse jumping, the different universe jumping guy. I think they've completely left that for the end of
Angstrom Levy.
Yeah, right. For the end of the
second half of the season.
Yeah. Which is cool. But
well, we know that he is hopping the multiverse, trying to find out ways to defeat Omni-Man and Invincible.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that that's going to come to a head. So now not only are they fighting against the Viltrumites, they have to worry about this Angstrom Levy character who's going to try to destroy him as well. So really cool. Look, the show's great. Again, I think Tony and I agree that it definitely ended the first half of the season on a high note, and we're looking forward to the second half.
Absolutely.
All right, let's jump into some news. Lots of news happened in the last couple of weeks that we haven't covered, so we'll talk through some of these items before we get into our topic of the week. We have another casting for Superman Legacy. This news came out. Nicholas Hoult has been cast to play Lex Luthor in the Superman Legacy movie.
So there's been a ton of casting rumors and
announcements
for this movie. Is it getting crowded? Is it introducing all these, Hawk Girl, Lex Luthor, all these
we know Brainiac's going to be in
Brainiac. It's not Wonder Man, it's somebody else, Fantastic Man or somebody else. Is it getting too much? You're introducing all these characters, and now there's a rumor that Supergirl is going to be introduced in this movie at some point.
And we know she's getting her own movie. We are getting a Supergirl Women of Tomorrow.
But are you taking away from the story of, hey, let me get this very clear, in James Gunn we trust so far.
I was going to say.
And James
Gunn.
I understand that. But for me, it's getting a little convoluted and it's getting a little crowded.
We know how important this movie is for
is
several reasons.
Huge.
It is the launch of the new DCU that James Gunn and Peter Safran are now in charge of. So this is the first film, their feature film they're coming out with in their new universe. So they have to use this as a benchmark, very similar to how Zack Snyder came out with Man of Steel. That was like the first movie in his kind of universe. This is the first movie, so it's important that they get it right.
Yep.
But they also want to use it as a stepping stone for all of the other plot lines and storylines and movies they want down the road. So is it getting crowded? Maybe. I think a lot of these characters and one of the things,
cameos, small parts.
Yeah, one of the things that when Nicholas Hoult was cast, one of the things that a lot of people surmise, and even James Gunn teased at this, is we may not see the full-blown version of Lex Luthor in this movie. We may be introduced to Lex Luthor, the person, but the Lex Luthor, the villain, may not be part of this movie.
Got it.
Just the person of Lex Luthor. And but casting Nicholas Hoult, mainstream actor, a lot of people might remember him for portraying the Beast in the second edition of the Fox X-Men movies, the Days of Future Past version, the first class version. Yeah, in Days of Future Past, he was Beast. So and dated Jennifer Lawrence as well. They had a relationship at the time they were working together there. But I think casting him, being a younger actor who's going to play this role for many films, hopefully, and many projects going forward, I think it's really smart. I do like a lot of the casting announcements that DC has made for this movie. We'll see more down the road, but I'm pretty sure the plot will be concise.
Yeah.
And there may be some little pieces here and there that might just feed into some future projects going on. So
again, in James Gunn, I trust,
right.
But it is getting a little crowded. And I think that he really needs to focus on Superman and developing that new Superman character in this movie.
And he's got to know that, though.
Of course he knows that. This is
probably the most important character for him to get right.
I'm just a suburban dad sitting in my basement talking about nerd stuff. James Gunn is on a different level. I'm aware of that. I'm self-aware of what I am and what he is. And I'm sure he does know that. But I'm just telling you what my fears are, is that there's a lot of announcements. There's a lot of casting announcements, a lot of these new characters. And I just think it's so important to focus on, if you look at Man of Steel and you see Man of Steel and what they did with Superman in that movie. Yes, they had other characters in that movie, but they were all focused around Superman. You know what I'm saying?
Arguably the best movie of the DCEU.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of people love the first Wonder Woman movie, which was great as
love
well.
It.
But Man of Steel was awesome. I mean, it was awesome. And and Henry Cavill crushed it in
Zack
that role.
Snyder put it together and it was amazing.
Oh, and having Russell Crowe as his father. I mean, it was just a home run on so many levels. And it made us as fans super excited for what was coming. And then
absolutely,
we were disappointed later down the road. So
a little bit.
Anyway, well, like you said, in James Gunn we trust, so we'll figure that out. I'll be honest with you, and I'm gonna lean on you here, Titanium, as maybe the subject matter expert here. So Jonathan Majors is in court. His trial's been going on for the last couple of weeks. I had not paid attention to this whatsoever.
Okay,
so if you want to, get the listening audience up to speed with what's going on, for what I have no idea what's going on.
Innocent until proven guilty. His girlfriend and Jabba, I forget her name.
The Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt, his girlfriend. She was on the stand, and it was a brutal cross-examination from what the news is saying. They questioned her about all kinds of things. They really laid into her. And I think her demeanor was not to hurt him on stand. So she was very agreeable to answering all the questions. And I don't know the outcome of that. I do know that they're still in trial, and there's still things that they're going through. But
keep this in mind. This is a criminal case. So this is the state of New York bringing charges against him for
allegedly
domestic assault, right?
Allegedly.
Right. Well, they brought charges. I mean, whether he did it or not is alleged, but they brought forth charges of domestic abuse. It's not a civil trial, right? So the burden of proof is very different between a criminal trial and a civil trial. And she's not suing him for damages yet, which she may very well do at some point in time. But there's really
plenty of time for her to do that. Yeah. But at this point in time, I think the way his lawyer beat her up on that stand, I wouldn't be surprised if she goes after him if he's found guilty. And I don't know. This is still playing out in the courts.
It doesn't look good for anybody, to be honest.
It really doesn't. But I think that there are a lot of insiders, and I've noticed this. There are a lot of news organizations, and there are a lot of insiders, Hollywood shills, that are completely backing Jonathan Majors and saying he's going to be moving forward. They just signed to the writer of Loki to write.
Don't cover that yet.
I'm not. I'm just saying I'll let you cover that, but they're moving forward with Kang Dynasty, and in order to do that, they think that Kang is going to be that in the future. And that being said, they're automatically assuming that he's innocent, and this is going to, Disney and Marvel is going to sit tight with Kang, and they're not going to change anything, and blah blah blah.
I think the outcome of this court case is going to have a lot to say.
Everything correct. I agree with you. I don't see how Disney can sit with him if he's found guilty.
Right.
Here's one thing that I did hear, and I did notice, even though she was protecting him on the stand, his lawyer absolutely ate her up and spit her out. The fact that there was some physical contact is not being disputed, and that could be the end of it.
Right. I think that they did. That was one thing I read, that they did have irrefutable evidence that there was a physical event.
Correct.
Right. So we'll see. And again, we've covered this before in the show. One of three things is going to happen. They're either going to punt on Kang and move in the direction of Doctor Doom, which has been rumored. They're either going to keep Kang and keep Jonathan Majors, or they're going to keep Kang and recast him. I mean, if they decide to go in the direction of Kang, they have a convicted felon, playing the role, they can't do that.
The state of Marvel as it is today, you have to bring your heavy hitters off the bench, put them in the game. Because you're down. You're down. And it's the fourth quarter, baby.
Yeah.
The game is almost over for Marvel. Bring your heavy hitters in. Doom. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep.
Doom.
Yep. All right. Well, enough on Jonathan Majors. We'll obviously keep an eye on this, and we'll or Titanium definitely will. And we'll figure out what happens. I would assume, I'm not sure if this is gonna be finished before Christmas, probably not, knowing how court cases go. Probably be a continuance to move forward, after the new year. So it may be in January before we hear anything, the outcome of this. So,
that is true.
Yeah. All right, we did get a interesting first look at Agatha Darkhold Diaries. Marvel is now releasing Blu-rays of compilations of the Disney Plus series. So they released a Blu-ray for WandaVision, and they were doing the same thing for all the other Disney Plus series that have come out. You can buy the whole set of all the episodes on a Blu-ray. And on the WandaVision Blu-ray, there was a first look at Agatha Darkhold Diaries. They showed some behind the scenes filming of this series, and we got some really cool insights into maybe a little bit of the plot. Definitely some of the characters that are going to be
dealing with the Witch's Road.
Yeah. And lots of rumors around what's going to happen with this series. But, we got to see Aubrey Plaza, in her role. We definitely see from what we understand, is the older version.
Smoke Show.
Yeah. Aubrey Plaza.
Oh, love her.
She
is my female Paul Rudd.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
what'd you think of these clips? Did you see the clips?
Yeah, I did.
I'm not excited.
Underwhelming.
It looked kind of cheesy.
Yeah. I think this, and maybe this is where Marvel is going. I think these Disney Plus series that are in the hopper right now that we know are coming out, I think Marvel is pivoting to make sure that they are 100% designed to set up the future of the MCU, like the future projects and movies. And I think that that's what they're going to be doing with this. What we understand, we see in some of the clips, we see Agatha in the same outfit she was in at the end of WandaVision, in her plain clothes. And so I do believe that there's a period of time in the show where she's still under the spell that Wanda put her under, and then eventually comes out of it and then has to kind of do a bunch of other things.
Looks like there might be some flashbacks.
Yeah. So we'll see. We know this is coming out next year at some point in time. We don't know when yet. But it was interesting at least to get a first look at this.
Yeah. I just hope. I love her. She's so great. I mean, I hope it's good for her sake, because I want to see her in more projects. But I wanted to see Darcy and Agent Wu in more stuff, and haven't seen any of that. But.
Yeah, we'll see. Really exciting news. I know you and I were very excited about this. So the Brazilian Comic-Con version of Comic-Con was last week.
CDXS.
Yeah, CD. Like yeah. It's down in Brazil. And this is an interesting Comic-Con because studios use this event to kind of subtly drop trailers and other things into this event that are kind of off the normal Comic-Con, normal Comic-Con obviously being in July.
Which we're going to,
which would be great. Yeah, it'll be awesome. But this is a nice kind of mid-season Comic-Con where in the past studios have shown up and announce things or drop trailers during this event that otherwise they'd have to wait or do it it's some other way to do that. Great news. Amazon dropped the first trailer for The Boys season 4 during Brazilian Comic-Con, and it looks awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you and I have never held back our love for this series and this show and these characters and what Amazon has done with them. It's brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. One of the best comic book adaptations ever created, and they've hit a home run. It's incredibly popular.
Of course, they've hit a home run. Absolutely. But let's talk about the trailer. It didn't give anything away.
No.
It gave you glimpses of new characters.
There were 2 new female characters that have come into the 7.
Glimpses of new characters, glimpses of the brutality that's going to happen, but not giving anything away. I'm telling you, this trailer teaser was fire.
Yeah.
I mean, this show, I can't wait. We don't know when it's going to drop.
In one part in the trailer, his son picks up some guy and tosses him into a building, and he just splats up next to the side of the building. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Another big thing that was in the trailer is Black Noir still on the 7.
How did he come back?
He was definitely killed by Homelander last season. So yeah, big question mark about why and how he's back.
Yeah.
And there's some rumors in that regard that we don't need to get into right now. I'm looking forward to this. No announcement about a date. They did not give us a date of when it's dropping.
It's going to drop early 2024.
They just said 2024. Yeah. My gut tells me maybe in the April timeframe, which is kind of typical for what they've done in the past. That would probably be a good time for them. Look, and next year's not very crowded from a, competing, media perspective for comic book media. So we're looking forward to this. The trailer was great. If you haven't seen it, go out and check it out because it really is awesome. And we're definitely looking forward to season 4 of The Boys. And from what we understand, another interesting aspect of this, season 4 of The Boys picks up right after the end of Gen V, the Gen V season that just finished.
So many questions.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, it really is going to be awesome. We also got a trailer from HBO, or Time Warner. I don't know who you want to call it. They dropped a trailer for Matt Reeves' Penguin series featuring Colin Farrell. That's going to be coming out on HBO Max. They have been working on this, and kind of a little teaser of what is happening with the Penguin character since the Matt Reeves Batman movie came out. We get to see that he's kind of picking up the pieces of Falcone's underworld empire that Batman kind of shut down at the end during that movie.
I'm excited for this show. It looks dark. It's going to stay true to the Matt Reeves, his vision in the Batman. I'm looking forward to this. I saw a teaser for what Warner Brothers, what they're doing on Max. There are different shows that are coming out, and they had clips of the Penguin in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think James Gunn has given Matt Reeves kind of carte blanche to take this Elseworlds project of the Batman and all the sub characters. We know the Penguin series is coming out on HBO Max next year. We know that he's coming out with an Arkham series as well on HBO Max. Yeah. And then we know there is a second movie in the works, or at least in the hopper. So I'm really excited to see what he does. The first Batman movie was very well done. And I think it was really hit a home run with that. And James Gunn's like, look, I don't want to undo all this great work that he's doing. Yeah. So it's
Elseworld is a great way to do that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I don't know how you feel about this, Titanium. I think I know how you feel about this, I should say.
I'm 50-50 on
yeah. So Marvel did officially announce that both Moon Knight and Ms. Marvel have been greenlit for season 2. Not surprising.
You saying officially, right?
Officially.
Okay, because I've only seen rumors that Moon Knight 2, Ms. Marvel 2, and She-Hulk 2 were rumored to be greenlit. But you're saying Marvel officially announced.
They've announced these 2, and they're saying that it's likely that She-Hulk is maybe coming out too. So these 2 for sure. We are ultra excited about Moon Knight season 2.
Absolutely.
And Oscar Isaac has had teased previously many months ago that they were already planning for a season 2. So I don't think we're surprised that this is happening, and the success of that series and the success of that character and his portrayal of that character. We are ultra happy about this. And we've talked about this, Titanium. Not only is he a rich enough character that you've got plenty of material to draw upon for future seasons of a show for him, but this whole concept of, the Midnight Suns or the Dark Avengers or whatever you want to call them, just this kind of occult version of superheroes, Black Knight, Blade, Ghost Rider, Werewolf by Night, right. We've got a ton of them to bring together. I just hope that they're marching in that direction.
I do too. Now let's get into the Ms. Marvel season 2.
I was trying to avoid the subject, but
how do you do that? How do you make that decision? I love the character. I think she's great.
You love the actress.
I do love the actress, and the character isn't bad. I think it's cute, whimsical, funny, but a lead? No, it was the lowest.
Well, she's putting together the Young Avengers.
That's awful. Listen. It was the lowest streaming show on Disney Plus. A. B. The movie absolutely bombed. Nobody went to see it. And all these people that are fighting so hard, Ms. Marvel's great. Ms. Marvel, blah, 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 blah. Well, show up to the theater. Support it. No one did. A handful of us did, but no one did. I don't know how you greenlight this. It's ridiculous. And if they're going to go with that silly... I know She-Hulk stayed true to the comics, breaking the fourth wall, doing all this funny, goofy stuff, which is great. But it wasn't that successful. I mean, no one's asking for these. I
would love both She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel to play minor supporting roles in team-based movies.
Perfect. Team-based movies.
Putting She-Hulk on the Avengers. Sign me up for it. Fantastic. Fantastic. Putting Ms. Marvel on the Young Avengers, sign me up for it.
But as a lead?
Right. As the person who's putting this team together, it is obvious to both of us that for some unapparent reason, Disney or Marvel or somebody over there thinks that Ms. Marvel is the future of the MCU. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get it. And
strike one. The show was the least streamed service out there. I mean, there was a handful.
Well, they had to bring it onto network television for free, and they shipped it around the world for free. Just to get people to watch it.
Correct. Strike one. Strike two.
How many other Disney Plus series were ever put on network television?
None.
Other than that one?
None. Strike two, The Marvels. Absolutely bombed. It got panned. Now, special effects were great. Story sucked. Acting was dialed in somewhat. She was the best part of it, no question. But even to set her up as leading the Young Avengers, you are, in my opinion, you are setting yourself up for failure. That's it.
again, I can't help believe that this is to some extent a money grab. I think Marvel, I don't know who's driving this ship, so I don't know if it's Disney or Marvel, but somebody over there thinks there's this untapped market of young, teenage, female, specifically, fans out there that if we could just tap into this audience, they're going to put us over the top. They're not showing up.
In doing so, you're alienating the people that spend $1 billion, that make you $1 billion on movies, the comic book enthusiasts, the fanboy. So I'm not being misogynistic. It's nothing about the women in comics or the huge fan base of little girls or girls that like comics. That's great. But they liked comics without all this Miss Marvel and all this. They didn't need it before.
No. Here's what I'm going to guarantee. You and I, if Ms. Marvel season 2 comes out, and I don't know when or if, and it may be several years from now, and who knows if you and I are still around. But if it does come out, unless it's great, we won't talk about it until it's over, and we'll give our kind of like review of it and be done with it. But we're not going to be doing weekly coverage of, Ms. Marvel's episode 3.
Moon Knight, I can't wait for.
Yeah, Moon Knight,
I'm excited.
I'm excited for.
He's such a great actor. She's such a great actor.
Absolutely.
And the Scarlet Scarab, is that what it is? Yeah. I'd love to see her back in that.
She did. She was great too.
I thought that was great.
Yeah. That was a series that hit home for us. That one worked.
Yeah, it did.
As quirky as it was, it worked. All right. Let's get into our topic of the week. Brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios, home of the Man Band, corner of the cop. Thanks, Studio G, for all you do.
Hey, thanks, Studio G, for the mugs. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's really hard to drink bourbon out of these things, though.
We're just drinking water. Wink. Oh, wink.
Yeah, just like Johnny Carson did on The Tonight Show, right? He'd always had that coffee mug, and everybody's like, what the heck's in there? All right. So our topic of the week is going to be a slew of rumors that have come out about Marvel specifically in the past couple of weeks. And the rumor mill has been running rampant with reports. And we want to just kind of encapsulate all those into a single discussion, because I think, as Titanium and I have alluded to, the company's in trouble. And Bob Iger came out here recently and admitted their mistakes.
He said 2 things. He said he felt like a lack of supervision on set and during the production and writing and making of these films by executives. The lack of that
affected quality
and affected the stories themselves. And number 2 is that, and this is really the crusp of it, and he said it in a very politically correct way. He said that a message was being driven more so than a story and an overall story. There were injecting messages and things into these stories that kind of did not make sense. Basically, the stories were shit.
You were basically sacrificing the bigger story for the message you were trying to deliver.
Right. And the message no one wanted to hear the message.
Didn't want to hear the message, and it did not resonate with anybody.
Did not resonate. Maybe a small handful of people that are rabid about this message and want these messages and several different ones obscured, whatever they are. But really, they got away from good storytelling. And I think that was his thing. Quality over quantity, bottom line. And I hope he stays true.
And frankly, they're in trouble. I mean, look at we covered this several weeks ago. The box office returns, everything since Phase 4 has come out. What's been happening in the industry? Is there superhero fatigue? But look, the returns don't lie. They have not been successful. And maybe next episode, Titanium and I are going to do kind of our year in review. When we get to our final episode for this calendar year, we'll kind of look back and talk about all the things that have come out.
Aquaman.
Right. And we'll kind of look back and review everything that's come out this year. And frankly, it's been a lot of crap.
Yep. Agreed.
We don't need to preview this, but I think Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which came out in February, was the best thing that came out this year. And it was a little better than okay.
Yeah.
It was a good movie.
I thought it was good.
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't great, but it was good. Everything else has really not been good.
Yeah.
And for lots of different reasons. But they're in trouble.
Get into it. Spitfire.
Yeah. So let's talk about a bunch of these rumors that have dropped. And I think we're seeing the pieces that are coming into place for their recovery, which excites me, gives me hope. They're actually starting to think about things that they need to fix and do better. So first thing, rumor that Agatha Coven of Chaos, or is it Coven of Chaos? It's Agatha Darkhold Diaries now, right?
Yep.
Agatha Darkhold Diaries is being put in place to bring back Scarlet Witch. And Wanda will return as a result of the show itself. And Titanium alluded to this. There's this concept of the Witch's Road. And there's rumors out there that when the Scarlet Witch collapsed the Darkhold Sanctum on top of her, and we saw that flash of red light, that ultimately she ended up in the Witch's Road, and that's kind of where she is. And there's this whole the show of Agatha Darkhold Diaries will be ultimately a way for her to be coming back. Rumors that they are working on a solo project for the Scarlet Witch, solo movie, and bringing back Elizabeth Olsen, who is and has been one of their biggest stars.
Yeah.
And one of the keystones to some of the successes they've had. I mean, WandaVision was a home run.
Yeah.
It was a home run. She was great in all the Avengers movies she was in.
She was great in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think bringing her back and using the Agatha show to do that is brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's a way to explain how she might come back or how she will. And we know,
as easy as it may look. Yeah.
She needs to play a role in Kang Dynasty. She needs to play a role in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
So bringing her back in some form or fashion is, and if that's what ends up happening with this show, I'm all for it. Give me 6 episodes of Agatha, and at the end of it, Elizabeth Olsen shows up and says, "I'm back."
Right.
Fantastic.
Do it.
Make it happen. Here's the really, really good news. So we know the only movie that Marvel is releasing next year to the theater is Deadpool 3. The only one they've announced, the only one's on the schedule for next year. We get one Marvel MCU movie next year. And thank God it's this movie. It's the one that you and I have been looking forward to the most. I think
the only other movie I could see them releasing next year, late next year, would be Captain America. But from what we hear, the reshoots are going on and scheduled for January and February, major reshoots. I think they finally got some people that knew what they were doing, reviewed it, and said, this isn't going to work. Yeah, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, but there's no announcement of it being on the schedule.
Only Deadpool 3.
And I think highly likely that'll be pushed to 2025, but it's possible they may pull it in if it gets done.
And in my opinion, I think Deadpool 3 will answer the question, is there superhero fatigue or not? Because if Deadpool 3...
This movie is going to kill it.
I believe so.
And here's the thing. Certain people, right, and certain characters will draw an audience regardless of how good the movie is. I just want to make that statement because we've seen commercial success for movies that weren't critically accepted very well or critically,
Agreed.
weren't the best movies ever. Ryan Reynolds is a massive, I'm talking about massive star.
Yeah.
Massive. And he himself will draw people to the theater. His portrayal of the Deadpool character will draw people to the theater.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, massive actor that has an enormous fan base across multiple types of media, stage, screen. He is one of the biggest stars out there. And his portrayal of Wolverine in this movie will bring people to the theater. If the movie's terrible, people will go to the movie and pay to watch it just to tell you how bad it was.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be terrible. Just like we trust in James Gunn, I trust in Ryan Reynolds.
Agree.
He is not going to put crap onto the screen.
Do you think it'll make $1 billion?
Yes.
Okay.
I think if it doesn't, it'll be close. It'll be over 900 million for sure.
Okay. Agree. I agree with you.
Well, think about it. The first Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, the first one with Tom Holland, made over $900 million. This movie has, how long has it been since Deadpool 2? 5 years? and everybody's talking about this movie. Everybody can't wait to see what cameos there are. Everybody's talking about all the different Fox characters being in it.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. And then we'll talk about some of them here. Some of the other things. So they're back on set. Good news. The strikes are over. They're back on set. They're filming again. Fantastic. Guess what? More set leak photos. Fantastic. Give them to me. Feed them to me like a chiclets. I don't care. I mean, they're fantastic. We got scenes of Wolverine fighting Sabretooth, but it's not. It's the tailor-made version of Sabretooth from the original X-Men movie.
Yeah.
Not the one from X-Men Wolverine Origins, right? So it's not Liv Schreiber's version. It's the tailor-made version. And it's like with the long hair and everything else. And, you know, we saw earlier in some of the set photos, they were throwing around a head. Well, we found out whose head it is they're throwing around. It happens to be Sabretooth's.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Bring Sabretooth back. You got to have Sabretooth within this movie. Of course you do. Right. They released a comic still. It's a comic still as a promotion for a magazine article that's coming out about this movie. And in that comic still, in the sky, we see a silhouette of Falcon. And again, this was a comic still that Marvel Studios published for the magazine.
Yeah.
So it's not like somebody made this up.
Right.
So either Falcon and his version of Captain America and maybe the other Avengers are going to be in this movie, if not at least a post-credit scene, which makes a lot of sense.
Which makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's the next movie that's going to be coming out.
Yeah.
But
Captain America, Brave New World.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But I mean, this is just getting us even more excited.
Yeah.
More news about this. We know that Daphne Keane has now been confirmed to be coming back as X-23 in this movie.
She's all grossed up.
Oh yeah, she's a full-fledged teenager now, right? Yeah. And she's super excited about it. She is, you know, they asked her, there was an interview and said, what are any truth to the rumors you're coming back as X-23? And she's like, well, you know, even if there were, I couldn't talk about it, but you know, I love that character and I would play that character any day, you know. And it's like, if they write something for me, I'm doing it, you know. And she's coming back.
Yeah.
She was one of the best parts of the Logan movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the character in the comic books does have history. There is history there. Obviously a female clone of Wolverine that was, you know,
X-23. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. And she was great in the Logan movie. Bring her back.
Yeah.
Make her part of the Young Avengers, please. I'd be all for it. Or make her part of the X-Men. I'd be all for it. Whatever. So she's coming back. And I think at some point in time, we could probably go through this list. The number of cameos that have been either confirmed or rumored for this movie
off the charts
is astronomical.
Yeah.
I'll say probably at least half of them have to be true. Well, almost half of them have been confirmed. But the ones that haven't been confirmed, even if they're like 30 seconds, like if Taylor Swift shows up as Dazzler for like 30 seconds, I mean, it'll break the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, these rumors are just fantastic. And
some of the Easter eggs on the set photos are off the charts.
They got, there's some Easter egg. There's some huge car that everybody's saying, well, that's like the Red Skull's car from the original Captain America movie. I'm like, holy crap.
Souped up Red Skull.
Oh my God.
The ice cream truck from Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
a Fantastic Four vehicle from the old show.
Guys, this movie is going to be a home run.
I think so.
This movie is going to be a home run.
Agreed.
And if it is the only movie we're getting next year,
so be it.
So be it. And you and I are,
we even said on X, we said the only thing we're really looking forward to in 2024 is Deadpool 3 and Deadpool 3 and Deadpool 3.
Look, I will safely say that of all the projects that have been announced by Marvel for the next 4 years, all the way up until Secret Wars, this is the one I'm most excited for. And it just happens to be the next one we're getting, which is fantastic. But I'm looking forward to this more than anything. Not only is it a put the Fox universe to bed, Deadpool kills the Fox universe, whatever, the intersection of all of these X-Men based characters into the MCU, bringing Deadpool into the MCU. I mean, all of that is just so exciting when you think about it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this movie.
Can't wait. We got a ways to go.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure there'll be more set. Now, look, we know the large majority of the filming they have to do remains to be done will be done in studio. They were quickly trying to finish the outdoor location-based filming, which is why these set photos have leaked. There is a lot more filming yet to be done, principal photography yet to be done for this movie that will be done in studio. Good news is a lot of the VFX work that needed to be done for this movie was being done during the strikes because the VFX guys were not on strike. It was just the actors. So the VFX artists were already working.
Take your time.
Right.
Get it right. Take your time.
I mean, we got next summer's plenty of time.
Yeah.
You got 6 months to get this right. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be so good. And what you and I are probably looking forward to the most is the promotional lead up to this movie, because one thing Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds have done in the past is the promotional lead up to each one of his movies, not only brilliant, I mean, but funny and just so smart.
So creative, yeah.
Oh, remember this time, the first Deadpool came out in February. Can't remember what year it was, 2016, 2017, 2014, whatever it was. They were doing promotions over the holidays. And you had Deadpool sitting in his chair with a Santa hat on, drinking eggnog through his suit. They had a little video you could pull up on YouTube that was the Deadpool pool log, right? Instead of a Yule log is a Deadpool log, and it was a bag of crap on somebody's doorstep. I mean, it was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for that lead up to start, which will happen probably in the March, April timeframe. And when that first trailer drops, we're going to be all over it. It's going to be incredible.
Absolutely.
So, looking forward to it. But that can be a movie that resurrects and helps save Marvel in so many different ways.
Agree.
You're right. Mark Ruffalo recently, he's been out promoting a project he's got coming out here. He recently did lend more credence to the rumors that we've heard that Marvel is currently in negotiations with Universal Studios so they can retain the rights to make a Hulk solo movie. He's been talking about it for years, and he's been very public about the fact that I will continue to play the Hulk character as long as Marvel wants me to. He loves the character and will continue to play that character. He's like, I can't really talk about the details. It's stuff I'm not supposed to talk about, but we have a lot of ideas already kind of laid out about how this is going to happen. So hopefully they get everything done so we can make this work.
I can't get into the Hulk right now.
The way that but here's the good news about that, Titanium. I know one of your biggest criticisms of the Hulk is the dumbing down of the Hulk and, neutering him, basically not making him the powerful behemoth, unstoppable force that he is. And what they did with Professor Hulk and kind of getting Mark Ruffalo.
Again, I don't mind Professor Hulk, but he's now 6'2". Okay. The Hulk is now 6'2". I mean, he should be 7'5".
Well, and again, if what we hear is true and the Red Hulk is coming to the MCU in Captain America 4 and then ultimately the Thunderbolts, there's a reason for him to become badass Hulk again. Professor Hulk could not defeat the Red Hulk. Right. The rumors of the project that they want to film and make a movie of would be World War Hulk. And they're setting up the reasons why they would do that, where they would have to jettison him off to some remote planet because he's wrecking house here. And if the Red Hulk, let's just say out of thin air, said, ultimately Betty Ross dies.
Yeah.
And we know Liv Tyler is coming back to reprise her role as Betty Ross. Let's just say the Red Hulk does something, then she ends up dying. Well, maybe that turns him from Professor Hulk into
rampaging
Hulk.
The pussification, and I'm going to say that's a real word. I just made it up. The pussification of the Hulk in the MCU is criminal compared to what the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, where not the Ang Lee Hulk. I didn't like that fluorescent green Hulk, but
one thing that movie did very well, though, which is what you're talking about, is it showed
the mindless monster.
And it showed the potential of that character. So if you remember in that Ang Lee movie, which I didn't dislike as much as you did. I thought that movie was the Eric Bana version of the Hulk.
Yeah.
There was a scene in that movie where, if you remember, they had these 3 dogs that they had injected with gamma radiation.
Yeah.
They became these terrorizing, strong dogs, and he was fighting these dogs. And at one point in time, the dogs are having their way with the Hulk.
Yeah.
They're all over him.
He gets bigger.
He gets angrier and angrier, and all of a sudden he starts getting bigger and bigger. So the more he got angry, the bigger he got. And he freaking ripped him to shreds eventually. And it's
that's the Hulk.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about, is that's the version of the character you wanted.
Correct.
Just done better, in a different context, right?
Yeah.
That you cannot defeat him,
or the Hulk that was fighting Abomination.
Yes.
That Hulk.
Yes.
That vicious, ripped, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And where even in the first Avengers movie, when Mark Ruffalo is confronted by the Black Widow, and he says, you can try to kill me, but it won't work. He said, believe me, I've tried. I put a gun in my mouth and pulled the trigger, and I woke up 3 days later.
Yeah.
You cannot stop. He's unstoppable, right? You just can't defeat him. That's the version you want.
Exactly. Thanos defeated him.
Right.
Thor kicked the shit out of him.
Right.
The Jakari almost killed him up on top of that roof. The Hulkbuster knocked him silly. These things, he keeps getting his ass kicked, and I'm just get frustrated.
You've 4 clear examples of him basically
pussification.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving on.
But anyway, I'm excited for that character to be part of the future of the MCU for sure. That's all I'll say there. Another casting rumor for the Fantastic Four, which will continue until they make any official announcements, but rumor now that Anya Taylor-Joy, who is one of the hottest actresses in Hollywood right now,
she was in the New Mutants. Yeah,
was in the New Mutants in a comic book movie, but obviously in the Queen's Gambit. She's been in a million things. What was the chef movie called? The
Menu.
The Menu.
Mm-hmm.
She's been in a million things. Very hot actress right now. She has been, and hot in multiple ways too. She has now been rumored to be attached to the Fantastic Four, playing Galactus's herald.
Yep.
And there were numerous rumors around which herald. We knew the Silver Surfer was not going to be in this movie, possibly introduced in the future.
Please, did you hear what he just said, people? Stop freaking out online. They're not gender swapping the Silver Surfer. Galactus, he had many heralds, some of which were female. Some of the very popular ones were female. Now, Norman Rad absolutely is the number one Silver Surfer. Norman Rad is absolutely the favorite, most popular. He is the Silver Surfer, but he had several heralds that were female that were very similar to the Silver Surfer.
Well, he imbues all of his heralds. He imbues with the power cosmic, which is how they become the heralds, and they all have their own unique power set. The original rumors were that Terrax was going to be the herald of Galactus in this movie, who is has Earth-based powers. But now they're rumoring that it's going to be one of his female heralds. Funny enough, called Nova. And she would be playing that character in this movie.
I believe Juno was another very famous herald of his that looked similar to the Silver Surfer and had similar power set. But
yeah, but the rumor is she's going to be playing a herald of Galactus, and again, no official announcements about which one and who and all that. Marvel, just please announce this. I mean, it's the strikes are over. Come on. Can you give me a Christmas present, please?
You're losing on the field of battle. Put in your heavy hitters, brother. Why would you bench the Silver Surfer? Why wouldn't you put him in this movie? I know he's been done. I know you don't want a remake of all the other movies that have been out with the Silver Surfer. Don't bench him unless they have plans to do a separate series specifically for the Silver Surfer,
that was a rumor at one point in time that they were going to do a special presentation, or they were going to do a limited series focusing and by the way, the Silver Surfer deserves that.
No question.
That character is rich enough, has a long history in the comics,
and the popularity.
Yes,
to be.
But you could introduce Norrin Rad on his home planet, and the fact that he sacrifices himself to save his home planet from Galactus and agrees to be his herald, and then goes off and hunts down other planets for Galactus to to eat and consume and tries to look for uninhabited planets, but they don't have the energy he's looking for. So he goes to an inhabited planet. I mean, there's a million ways you could do this, right? So he's up there. So I hope they'll do him at some point in time and do him right, but
just don't keep him on the bench.
Right. Exactly. So one of the popular internet scoopsters, Daniel RPK, Daniel Rickman, just recently had a couple of different reports, but one of the ones that, and I like to get your opinion about this, indicated that Sam Raimi is now the leading candidate to direct both Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So
Sam Raimi from Spider-Man days.
Yeah, well, see, he directed the first 3 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, took a long break from comic book after Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 was not well received, and he was very offended by that and took a long break from that. He was brought in to direct Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. After that director and writer, I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, Scott Derrickson, ended up leaving the project. And they brought Sam Raimi in to finish that movie, and I thought he did a pretty good job with what he was given.
Agree.
But he is now being rumored as the leading candidate to. It seems like Marvel now wants one director for both Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars to maintain that continuity.
The Russo brothers did the 2. Yeah.
So if Marvel is moving forward with Kang as a character, and they are moving forward with Kang Dynasty as the next Avengers movie, Sam Raimi would direct that project and then move straight into directing Secret Wars as a follow-on to that project. So that makes sense. And again, we know, Kevin Feige has a lot of love for Sam Raimi, which is one of the reasons why they brought him on for Multiverse of Madness. And I think they enjoy working with him, and he would make a lot of sense. I mean, there's only one other group of directors that could do those projects, and the Russo brothers.
Correct.
But they've teased this in the past. I would rather them come back to do the first X-Men movie. And they've teased that would be a project they would want to do
besides Secret War, because they've
talked about Secret War before, but they've also said what's another project you'd be willing to come back for, and they basically said the X-Men. They would do it. And if the Russo brothers does the first X-Men movie, I mean, I'm
all in.
Everything they've touched since they've left after Endgame, everything they've touched, all these projects they've done have been amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. What's the Chris Hemsworth movie on Extraction and Extraction 2? Both of them fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just amazing. They're really talented individuals. So, and then what was the one with Ryan Gosling, the
Gray Man.
Mm-hmm. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So everything they touch is really good. So I would love them to come back to Marvel to some extent. But Sam Raimi, I'm happy with him. He's a proven successful director. So I think that they're looking for that. There is a Twitter/X scoopster out there goes by My Time to Shine Hello. Really good track record in the industry for leaking trailer drops and a bunch of other things. Came out recently and said that Cillian Murphy is the leading candidate to play Dr. Doom in the MCU. What are your thoughts about Cillian Murphy?
We've talked about it before.
We've rumored Cillian Murphy before.
We even said that like several shows ago before this rumor even came out. We felt like that would be a great actor. The Peaky Blinders guy would be a great actor for
played Scarecrow in the Dark Knight movie, I believe. The Dark Knight movie. Yeah. Look, he's fantastic. Would play he plays bad characters very well, and I think he would lend a lot of mischievousness to the role.
There's probably a handful of actors I could see in that position, but he's probably my top that I would want. That as far as fan casting, he's probably my top.
Yeah, but again, now rumored to be a leading candidate if and when he does show up in the MCU. So we'll find that out. Mm-hmm. Another Daniel RPK report: both Marvel and Sony are looking for the director for the next Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 4. Right now, the leading candidate is Drew Goddard. So Drew Goddard was originally worked on the Netflix Daredevil series and did The Defenders that was on Netflix as well. And if you are planning on bringing Daredevil into a Spider-Man movie at some point in time, other than No Way Home, where Daredevil wasn't in the movie, but Matt Murdock was very briefly. And there has been rumors that Daredevil would show up in Spider-Man project at some point in time. And they have a long, rich history of working together in New York City throughout the comic books, which is there's proven track record there. And Kevin Feige's alluded to this street level hero type of thing. And those are the street level heroes that he was referring to.
It doesn't get any more street level than that.
Right. But Drew Goddard, I think, again, what he did with the Netflix Daredevil series, I mean, I have been watching some of them back again, and
he deserves a shot.
He does.
Yeah.
He's got a track record of understanding these characters and putting them in the best place to succeed. So I would be happy with him.
Put him on a mound as a starter. He's done as a reliever.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, there are still rumors out there that John Watts may return. So if everybody knows that John Watts did Spider-Man No Way Home, one of the most successful movies in Marvel's history, made $1.8 billion or
Buckets
something
of cash.
worldwide, just huge success.
But a good movie.
Fantastic movie. He was supposed to take over and direct the Fantastic Four movie right after that. And after Spider-Man No Way Home came out, he was a little burnt out.
Yeah.
And we all remember the massive rumor mills that were around Spider-Man No Way Home and all the trailers that were coming out. They're like, oh, there's pieces missing here. We know there's other characters, and are the other two Spider-Man in it? And all. He had to deal with all of that kind of nightmare rumor mill that was going on about that movie. He got a little burnt out, and he stepped away from doing comic book movies. Went and worked on a Star Wars project, right?
I think so.
He did the
Skeleton
Crew, I think. Yeah. So Scott Derrickson's now taking over for Fantastic Four now, and he's directing that, or Matt Shackman's taking that over and doing that. Guy who did WandaVision, which we're really excited for as well. However, there are rumors that John Watts may be coming back, and of course, if he wants to come back and wants to do the next Spider-Man,
you let him.
Marvel would be like
ecstatic.
Where do I sign?
No question.
Right? You know, of course you bring him back. Yeah. I mean, all three Spider-Man movies were fantastic. He did a great job with the character. He knows the character. He knows Tobey Maguire. Knows Tom Holland very well. They've worked together many times. Right. So, yeah, you bring him back.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a home run for Marvel if it's true.
Yeah. So. I think at this point in time, they're probably begging him to come back. And if he says no, then they're like, okay, well, we've got some other people we can go to.
Bottom line, to finish this up, people, Marvel they're in the shitter right now, and Marvel needs to fix their shit quite honestly right away. And I don't see them fixing anything until probably Deadpool. I really don't.
Well, there's nothing else coming out.
There's really nothing else to come out. I mean, we're going to get Echo.
What If?
We're going to get Echo.
And maybe X-Men 97. Those three things will be coming out.
I'm a little excited for Echo because the brutality that they saw in the trailer. So I'm hoping that it's more that Daredevil kind of vibe to it. But we'll see. But anyway, that's it. So, Professor, let's ring the bell.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk, and it'll be a Christmas episode next week. So we'll go through that. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or @supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
Everyone likes this game. Haters gonna hate, and I know you can't wait to see the Black Viper. Round and round she goes.